There's Surface. Right, Gary, you still there? Oh,
I'm still here, yes.
I can just see Jason coming online as well. That's good timing.
Yep. Ooh. Don't make him jealous.
Yeah. They gave out Surfaces to everybody that was on the call. The first person on this week's Skype call.
Yeah. Yeah. Ian doing his Bulma Proper.
I love this Skype UI. So I can't even see what. I can't read the chat window when you're in a conference call.
Hello.
Hello. Was that you sent me a chat message then? Because I can't read it.
Yeah.
That's okay.
This is sorry he's late.
Now, you're not looking at the video, are you now, Jace?
No.
Good. I don't. Yeah, I just, oh, what's this here in my hands? Hang on. Maybe you need the audio version.
Shut up.
Listen.
Yeah,
Is that what that is yet? It's my Surface.
That's my heart breaking.
Yeah, that's a Surface which I bought twice. So good I bought it twice.
Yeah.
Well, I better get started then. So, good evening, Jason and Gary.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. I think it's a good evening.
Yeah, so we've got a tale of two Surfaces this week.
Yeah, very much so.
I'm so glad I didn't order one.
Yeah, well, you've either got one and paid for it twice, or you haven't got one at all. I think that's the way it's working this week.
Yeah, pretty much. I think there's still a number of people who haven't received theirs yet.
Yeah. So, coming up tonight, we've got Surface Talk, Windows 8, Windows Phone 8, lots of Microsoft news around this week. So, plenty to talk about. And we're live in the chat room as well. So, hello, everybody in the chat room, streaming live and everything. So, I'm going to bring up my... Oh, we've got an email as well, which I forgot to read out last week. So, I'll make sure that we read it out this week as well, which is around the Metro stuff, the apps. So, let's start off with the Surface then. So, how did we leave it last week? We both... No, you hadn't ordered last week, had you, when we recorded?
That's correct. Yeah, I was going to order mine on kind of Wednesday.
Yeah, and I ordered mine on the initial release date. So I got the email on over the previous weekend saying that it was going to be the 2nd of November. And then I got on Friday, I was very excited waiting for the Surface to arrive, but and the money was taken out of the account for a second time. And then no Surface arrived, and we're seeing, and I think anybody in the UK got them on the Friday, did they?
No, I don't think I saw anyone saying that they'd received theirs. I don't think even to this day anyone's actually received a shipping notice.
No, I've never received a shipping notice or anything. So I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe I'll get it on the... Oh, I should add to that on the Friday as well. Everybody that did order one got an email apologising for the confusion over the release date, the delivery date, without actually giving a delivery date, but giving us £50 credit in the Microsoft store, the Microsoft UK store, not the Windows App Store.
And I think I saw somebody tweet something, or was it in... Oh gosh, I apologise, I can't remember where I read it, but apparently within the terms and conditions at £50, you weren't allowed to use it for download software, so you couldn't even use it to buy 2 Windows 8 licenses.
Right, I suspected it would be something like that, because I thought, imagine if they're giving you £50 in the Windows Store, that would have been the Windows App Store. You could buy a lot of software for £50.
Yes, definitely.
So anyway, so those services came over the weekend, and then on Monday, when you have this, I don't know, I think, right, it's not going to come today. I know it's not going to come today. Don't get my hopes up. I purposely left my tripod at home. I thought, no, I'm not taking it. I'm not being a sucker and leaving it at home. And then every time I got a call from our reception, I was like, oh, is it a delivery? No. Oh, never mind. So I still kind of hope, and amazingly at lunchtime it turned up, and I think I'm seen to be one of the very few people that have actually got one.
Yeah, I don't think too many people. I've seen a couple of people that I follow on Twitter today saying that there's a kind of turn up, but I still think there are people that just haven't received any information and no communication, or because I know I know some people said, look, they weren't expected to be received on the 26th, but I'm pretty certain I definitely saw the 30th, and I did at some point see the 26th.
Yeah, my initial order said order for the 26th.
Because I did try to pre-order mine when the pre-orders went up, but they were doing that thing where they were pre-charging the whole amount to the card. So unfortunately, I wasn't in a position to order it. But
which is where I think I've
behind.
got stuck. So I got the initial order with the amount, and it's been taken again. So I've had the amount taken twice so far.
Is that actually debited twice, or is one? Oh, right.
And I ran the Microsoft store yesterday, and they were like, we'll have to think about that and let you know. And I've heard nothing back since. So, a very nice chap on the phone, but
I think they've had some pretty major system issues at the people who run the Microsoft store, which is not Microsoft.
No, it's Digital River, isn't it?
Yeah, and I have to be honest. I've dealt with Digital River a lot over the time. I used to sell software through them, and they were actually very, very good. But I think this has just really taken them by surprise. The demand. I don't think they were really set up for it. They hadn't really. I mean, really badly. They haven't tested the systems by the sounds of things. So things like it appears that they're taking the authorization, and they're not actually then taking the money off the authorization to pay the payment, but taking a separate payment.
Yeah,
which is totally wrong and totally against all the banking regulations. So they'll be in big trouble for that anyway if the credit card companies get to know about it. So everybody should really be reporting this to their credit card companies now.
Yeah, I think that's the next step I'm going to have to do. I was hoping that they just resolve it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when my order got cancelled, I spoke to my bank, and they said no, the first charge is still sitting there when they gave me the authorization code. And they said all they need to do is just claim the amount against that authorization code, but unfortunately, because it's all automated, as soon as that second transaction got declined, they just cancelled the order. And when I spoke to the customer support line, they said that's it. Once an order's cancelled, there's no going back. The only thing you can do is reorder, but it's now 3-week waiting list. And quite frankly, I don't see why I should have to wait 3 weeks when clearly they were trying to ship mine, because I can't imagine they would have taken the full amount, the final amount, if they weren't actually trying to ship it out the door. So, in theory, I should be getting mine in the next couple of days, but I did, just the store's just completely helpless. They just can't offer you any kind of help. I spoke to them again today, and they said that my case has been escalated, but it's just as Charlie Kindle says, releasing hardware is hard. It's not a simple thing to do, and I think unfortunately the whole thing is just a disaster, which is just that. The worst thing. I mean, okay, and you've got yours, but you've been charged twice. You never received any kind of shipping notice.
Nope.
So what happens if you hadn't been? What if you hadn't been in to collect it?
Yeah, and if you go on to the store and have a look I had a look at my order history. It still says in progress. Delivery 2nd of November.
That's because you're going to get a second one on 2nd of November.
I like it, but it's not that good.
Because I know M Brit on Twitter, who writes for ZDNet, he's done quite a good write-up on how there's multiple people involved, even with Microsoft actually shipping the services directly from the factories in China. So they're not even really coming into stock at their normal supply depots, I guess. They've just literally been sent.
I just got. Did you see it? You just got a tweet, Jake, saying, "Go on, suck it to them."
Yeah, I haven't got my Twitter up at the moment.
Yeah, well, that's what it said. Yeah.
Yeah, I've just found a flaw in the Metro interface. I need Skype up, I need the live chat up, and I need Twitter up at the same time. We need 3 spaces, not just 2.
Yeah, so Jose is actually in the chat room, and he was saying that some merchants charge the original hold while others create a new one. Well, I checked on my statement, and both amounts have been debited twice, so there's definitely an error somewhere.
Yeah, it looks like they've actually taken the whole plus the new charge.
Yeah,
as well. So in a lot of cases,
now I've seen some people say that one of them might get put back.
Yeah,
I mean, I mean, it's frustrating for me because, interesting enough, I actually paid a bill the morning that they tried to claim the second amount. I'd paid off a bill which had taken the amount down. If I hadn't have actually paid off that bill, they'd have pretty much emptied our bank account.
Yeah, which is really
scary.
I mean, that's what I'm more worried about. What happens when it gets to, if anybody's bought it on a credit card, the same thing. If you pay off the amount, what do you do? Do you pay it off twice, or do you get interest charge? Who's going to pay the interest? There's all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mean, all the amounts have gone back onto our account now, even the holding charge for my pre-order. So that got released midnight last night. So, I've got the money sitting back in my account, but frankly, at the moment, I as much as I desperately want a Surface, I really do not feel like reordering at the moment.
Yeah, they've really. It's just the £50 was nice, but just a bit of communication. Your order's not going to arrive. It'll arrive on even if it said on Friday it's going to arrive the following Friday. You would have been happy with that. It's just the communication, and then like the billing problems as well. It's just it just shows how hard these things are and how well companies like Apple and Amazon do. If you order it from Amazon, it's going to arrive on time.
Yeah, exactly.
And it shows the work that Microsoft. They seem to in the US they don't seem to have had this issue.
Well, yeah, and I think they've used the same fulfillment process out there as well, but they're probably more hands-on on it. I mean, I spoke to some people I know in Microsoft yesterday who were totally unaware this problem was actually occurring because it just wasn't being fed back up to them.
No.
There were people who should have been aware it was happening. So I think, certainly people at the top were starting to get aware of it, but it wasn't filtering to the people who actually needed to do it and needed to do anything about it in the UK. And also, I think the problem is that the whole arrangement seems to be managed out of the US, so the UK people haven't got any hands onto it anyway. So even if they were aware of it, they couldn't do much about it.
No. I was just kind of clutching at straws trying to get something done. I even emailed Steven Sinofsky yesterday, and he responded and said that he would look into it, and then later on sent me a tweet and a couple of others saying, yeah, we're aware of a few, obviously he's choosing his words carefully, a few issues with payments, and we're going to sort it out and expect a call or email next business day. Well, next business day has been and gone, and I've heard nothing. The only thing like I said, I did do was spoke to people at the Microsoft Store helpline, but they're just completely helpless. There's just absolutely nothing they can do. All they said was that my case had been escalated as of yesterday, which was my misunderstanding as well, because I thought they were saying that they would send me an email that I could respond to escalate it. What they actually meant was an email would be sent internally to escalate it. So I should just have to wait and see. But if they really are running low on stock with a 3-week waiting list, the only way I can see is that if they've got some kind of stock on hold that they can expedite my order.
Yeah, I think there's a whole raft of issues here. I mean, I think one of the problems they've got is they've obviously got a systems flaw there which they can't resolve very quickly, and how they actually put things back into that, I'm not quite sure. And how they know which orders they've cancelled, because it doesn't, from what I can understand, the system doesn't even necessarily record that fact, other than to send you the email.
Yeah, I mean, my order does show as cancelled when I look at it online, so it definitely has been cancelled. But there I am without a Surface, which I was really looking forward to getting, because I've been trying to use the Iconia, as I said before, in an RT style, not installing desktop apps, and it's working really well for me. So I was really looking forward to getting the Surface, especially since the Iconia I barely get my hands on these days. So I was looking forward to having my own tablet. And my wife even said, "Oh, I quite like the look of that. I could use that one for Media Center." I said, "No, that's the point. You can't get Media Center on it."
No. However, I did get the DVB Link client that Gary talked about a couple of weeks ago working and streaming live TV. No problems at all on that.
Yeah, that works really well, doesn't it? I've set that up on the touch smart I have in my bedroom, and that works. That's now working to put my live TV from the Media Center here as well.
Yeah, so that works pretty well. Well, so aside from the ordering issues, let's go back then to where we're up to Thursday. Then for the keynotes, we had the Windows 8 and we had the Surface one a couple of hours later. So I'm trying to remember back. It's been a long while since then. So was there anything at the keynote that was of particular note of interest, or anything we should be talking about?
Yeah, well, I can't really remember that far back. Too much Surface stuff in between.
Yeah.
I must admit, I thought it was kind of pretty quiet in a way that there really wasn't anything to reveal. It really was just a launch of Windows 8. I don't apart from maybe a couple of app announcements, it was relatively quiet and low key. Really, I thought.
Yeah, I know we said that last week. Would there be any surprises? And there wasn't really. I mean, a couple of app announcements, but that's about it, and they weren't particularly surprising. So I think that someone said the other day, why Microsoft's been so secret these days when they never announce anything. And I think there is something to be said for that.
Because I mean, really, the pre-orders for the Surface, all the information we've been waiting for, kind of came out on the 16th when the pre-order went up. So it wasn't even as if they were revealing the device. I mean, I did, so yeah, in the keynote there wasn't particularly anything. It was almost just here's Windows 8, it's ready to go, and go get it. But I mean, the store had already opened, so
yeah. I think a lot of those keynotes and that things are actually just to change of press. I mean, they want press on the launch days, so they get us something to put up on the BBC or put up on the ITV or CNN or whatever it is in the States, rather than actually to actually tell us anything new. Because if you're in the tech community, you've played with it for months, and you know what's in there. And it's not like the old. And in many ways, this is good. It's not like the old Vista days where everything was landed on the doorstep as they launched it, because they were so busy trying to fix it all before they got to launch or release. Things didn't work. So it's actually quite good that everything's stable before it gets to point of release.
Yeah. It might have been quite nice to hear Steven Sinofsky say, "Oh, and by the way, we're giving away Media Center for free until the 31st of January."
Yeah, I mean, that could have been quite a good.
Give it a slight bow.
But again, they'd already said that up front anyway, so we knew that was coming. But
yeah, but at least, I mean, that is one thing that's is available now, isn't it? You can get that. So up until 31st of January, you can get the key. And now I know, Gary, I couldn't test the Media Center upgrade process because I did it on a clean install because I had this problem. But you tested going from Windows 7 with Media Center to Windows 8 to Windows 8 Pro with Media Center. And how did you find that?
It went well. I went from Windows 7 to Windows 8 Pro and then added the Media Center key on. The only problem I was having was activation, but I'll come back to that in a minute because that's a completely separate story. But in terms of the actual Media Center upgrade, as soon as I put the Media Center key in, Media Center reappeared in Windows 8, had disappeared up to that point, and it was as it was when I left it. All the apps I had installed were still there. Everything worked except for my link to Arxoc Total Media Theatre, which had to be reinstalled. But that was the only thing which didn't work. So things like My Movies worked, all the plugins I usually use worked. So I think if you go in that way, it was quite interesting because some of the plugins I know which don't install on Windows 8, which I'd pre-installed on Windows 7, actually were still working.
Right.
Because obviously that's the Reg server stuff with the Windows, the different version of .NET.
Yeah.
Which is an issue with some apps, although a lot of app people are upgrading them now. But yeah, it worked absolutely perfectly. I was able to run My Movies. I was able to look at everything. So yeah, really pleased with that.
Mm. So that was announced on the last week, wasn't it? So that's there's a link for that in show notes. Anyway, it's very easy. You can order a key. I got a few keys just to make sure that I'm covered.
It's only one key per email address, though, so you have to
have
one email address if you're that way inclined.
Yes, I did a few just because I got a couple of machines, but actually the main machine was my Touch Smart, which, well, as we were saying just before recording, works really well on Windows 8. I've been really impressed with that. So the Touch Smart came with Vista. It's had Windows 7 on. It's now got Windows 8 on. Windows 8 is by a long way the best OS that I had on that machine, and I used to have all the HP special apps for touch and everything. You don't need anything like that. It's a very good. It's really a new lease of life for what is quite an old machine.
Yeah, I must say, I've tried out my even older Touch Smart, and I'm really impressed with it. Although I had the same problem as you did with the graphics drivers.
Yeah, I've had loads of people comment on that. I know I mentioned that last week, where you've got to keep wiggling the mouse, and loads of people have put on comments on the blog post saying thanks so much for writing that down, because I had the same problem. So,
yeah.
And I did notice once Media Center installed, it reset back to the bad driver as well. So I had to go through the whole process again.
Yeah. Well, my big problem I had was activation on the Media Center. I kept getting this error that activation had failed. And one of the problems is that there's no easy way to get to the telephone activation
right
now. So if your internet activation comes up, if you look on the Metro interface, there isn't a button saying do telephone. If it recognises the fact that the internet connection is down, then it will come up apparently, but I've not seen that. So so there is a workaround for that, which is if you can get an administrator command prompt up, which is another really good trick for doing that, is if you right-click bottom left on where the button to go to the start screen is, well, the button which isn't there, but the place
where it was,
like the bottom right corner, you get a whole list of administration options.
Yeah, very useful.
And one of those is run the command prompt as administrator. So if you go into that, and then I think it's SLUI /4 will bring up the software licensing UI with the telephone number bit in it.
Right.
And then you can get on and do your telephone activation like you'd previously done. One interesting thing is I had to do it twice. Once after I'd installed Windows, and once after I put the Media Center in.
Right.
Okay. So, but that worked in the end.
Yeah. It's good that the link's out there and that's available. And I did put a post up with what's new in Windows 8 version of Windows Media Center. Not a lot. In fact, nothing at all. Jace, have you? Did you? What build did you have on your Iconia?
I put the the RTM release on the Iconia. I did have a build I'd obtained, but
yeah.
But
so have you got the Media Center installed on there?
I have, yes. Yeah, I used one of the keys that I got, and yeah, it's working absolutely fine. In fact, I even upgraded DV Logic to 4.5.1 at the same time, and our play ready issues have reduced. We still get the error, but it's better than it was.
Right.
So that's quite pleasing.
Actually, that's one interesting thing, Jace, because I've not had a play ready issue since I've moved to Windows 8 with the Media Center. That's just crossed my mind because I was getting them quite regularly on Windows 7.
Okay, yeah, we used to get them on the Iconia, and I'm still getting warnings that recordings are failing, even though they actually do record, because I think it triggers the error and then it finally cleans up the stream and gets on with it. So it's definitely reduced. So that's really, really good news, and I do appreciate that it is the hardware I'm running on that I'm sure is causing the issues, but even so, it's still quite frustrating. But no, definitely better now, which is making my life easier.
So on the Friday, so they had the Windows 8, which I was expecting more app announcements and just saying, look who's launching, and we've got this and we've got that, a bit like they did with the Windows Phone announcements where they said, oh, we've got Pandora or whatever. But there wasn't anything like that. That was kind of held for today, really, where there was a couple of partial announcements of new apps.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting, something big, because it's clearly people's attack vector in terms of criticizing the operating system, even if you're not going for the obvious target of it's the dual interface that's really confusing. It's going to be the apps, and I thought there was going to be some big ones. It's no official Twitter app, no official Facebook app. From which I kind of saw people were saying that was planned because they want people to use the People Hub. But for example, on the People Hub, I can reply to people via Twitter, but I can't compose a new tweet to them. So, I think they do need to. But I mean, obviously the third parties are doing a great job already. So hopefully that will build up. But I know Twitter are making it harder and harder for the third parties to really build great clients.
Yeah, but they did announce today that there is going to be an official Twitter app.
Yes, yeah, I'd seen that.
So at the Build conference.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been great. I know it's kind of always US centric, but it would have been great to see, like the BBC iPlayer or something like that.
Yeah.
One of those kind of things that's are nice to have, and whatever the the equivalent might be in the States. But it was kind of like I say, I felt it was pretty low key. I did come away disappointed, not because they weren't going to announce, not because they didn't announce anything, because Windows 8 has been out in beta testing and release candidate testing for months. So, but I thought they would kind of gear the whole thing around, and these are the apps that we're bringing to the market because we know it's important.
Yeah,
it was really just here it is, a quick walkthrough, and that's it.
Yeah. Now, when it came to the Surface announcement, that was pretty much the same, wasn't it? There was nothing particularly new there. I don't think there was anything that we hadn't seen before.
Apart from a brand new tablet getting dropped on the stage.
Yeah, true. And the bit of almost roller skating.
Yeah, kind of. Did not a little bit of part of you wanted that Surface to break when he dropped it?
Yeah, but then they said, "Oh no, whose is this one? Oh, Jay Coombs."
Yeah. Oh, no. Let's cancel his order.
Cancel his order.
I'll tell you where my Surface has gone. My Surface has gone to one of the blooming build attendees. That's where it is.
Yeah, someone reminded me. Actually, I remember when the Xbox 360 launched, you just couldn't get them over here. When I was at CES, and they were everywhere at CES, but you just couldn't get them for ages over here. So I suppose we have got a little bit closer launch than they did for something like the Xbox, and certainly than the Zune.
To be honest, I was actually quite impressed by that. The fact that they were launching them roughly at the same time. It's about the first time Microsoft's ever done that with anything other than downloadable software or the operating systems.
Yeah.
I did speculate that. Part of me would just wonder whether or not they intended to launch in the UK on the 2nd of November.
I think you're right. I think that's probably more likely, and that was the original plan all along. And some miscommunication somewhere, and it's ended up with the 26th, and they've done what they can to honour that.
Yeah.
Because even I think for the sort of the iPad and things like that, I think in the past there has been staggered dates on that, so I don't think anybody would criticise them too much if they'd done that.
Yeah, I think I mean from the Surface announcement, still my biggest disappointment, and I've no idea what I would use it for, but I just felt it's a big omission, is that there's no NFC, particularly with them building up Windows Phone 8 with its NFC support. And and it is potentially going to become a big thing over the next year or two, maybe. I understand that I think I'm right in saying that you said last week that the Wi-Fi only iPads don't have GPS, but it would have been nice to see GPS. But again, without a 3G connection, I'm not quite sure how useful turn-by-turn stuff really is. And
regarding the NFC, it's in the in the Nexus 7 that I've got, and I've yet to use it. I've not met anybody with NFC to try it with. So.
I think the thing with NFC is it is something of the future, but not the far future. It's going to be next year or so. We're going to start seeing a lot more NFC-enabled devices. I mean, it's going to be things. It's not going to be sort of like exchanging data stuff. It's going to be more command and control, like with the Lumia, with its speaker dock, where you just drop it on top, charging, and the NFC says, "Oh, I'm on top of the speaker dock. Let me start send the music to it."
Yeah, so maybe it's more relevant in phones initially, and that's.
Well, yeah, but I am very surprised it's not on the Surface, because they've been really bigging up. You can NFC straight into your Windows 8 device from your phone. That was mentioned loads in TechEd last year, so I'm really surprised it's not on the Surface. It would have been a very cheap addition as well. It can't be cost related.
No, the only thing I saw, and I can't remember where this was from, but I think someone from Microsoft said it was because of the magnesium casing that prevented the radio from working. But they've got Wi-Fi working, so seems a bit. And NFC is near field. It doesn't need to transmit over a big distance like Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it is low. The chips do tend to be very low powered though, so I could actually see something in that you couldn't actually get it to go through the casing.
Right.
Because that's similar to the rumours about iPhone 5. Well, that didn't go over NFC because it was too difficult to actually fit in the casing.
Yeah. I mean, I do wonder whether or not smart glass, in terms of the Microsoft ecosystem, is intended to kind of replace that in a way. Because I've seen demos of them. You've watched it looking at a website on the Xbox, and then you can transfer it back to the phone or to the tablet. So
it's a very different thing though. And I have to say that Microsoft were pushing NFC far more than anybody else was recently. So I do find it a strange admission. It's a solvable admission. You can get external NFC readers and things. So possibly, if you really wanted one, you could do it. But maybe we haven't seen the full spec of the Surface Pro yet, because obviously they've got the specs out, but there's still time for that to change.
So on the actual Surface itself, then. So let's have a look at that. So, like I said in the announcement keynote, so there wasn't particularly anything revolutionary or new information in there, but apart from the fact that Surface is on sale, this is the price, and like Gary said, a lot of it was a press event. But they certainly seem to have generated a decent amount of orders anyway. Certainly seen a lot of people. Maybe it's just my slightly skewed Twitter stream, but I do see a lot of people that have ordered them in the UK. I do see the usual reviewers that are very Apple centric sort of dismiss it for various reasons. But you're bound to get that, aren't you?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like I say, most of the reviews I read were all attacking the app market, which they're starting from day zero, regardless of how big the Windows ecosystem is. So it was always going to be the easy attack point. And I know a lot of people just kind of don't get the dual personality, but mostly, yeah. I think there was a few comments about performance, but I know one of those was addressed with the release of the full Office suite on the day of the launch. So
let's talk about the hardware then first. I've got my device here. Before I even talk about the hardware, I did an unboxing video which you can check. A link for that in the show notes. But you get the box here. I've got this on the video, and you can be seeing it. It comes in a very Zune-esque packaging, actually. The Zune was particularly quite good packaging compared to sort of Xbox packaging, where you end up slicing a finger off trying to open it. But yeah, so it comes in this slide-out drawer. The keyboard kind of drops out the bottom part, and the first thing you notice is it's got quite an industrial feel to it. It's the magnesium casing of it. So I'm just showing it here on the camera. But in terms of thickness, it's actually 1 millimeter thinner than the iPad. But although I must admit, it doesn't quite feel it because it hasn't got the same curved edge. But it's got a very solid feel to it, and it feels very nice in the hand. One thing I think you can take a bit getting used to is the 16:9 screen, so it feels tall when you're using it in portrait mode, like an iPad. But that really is only part of the story. I think when you combine it with the Surface keyboard, and I've got the Type keyboard, which you can hear clicking. It's a very satisfying click. I know that they worked on that. And that and the kickstand actually make it really useful and take it into a different direction than you would use the iPad. I find most of the time I've been using it with that, and eventually you've got a full laptop. You've got a keyboard, you've got a trackpad, and it becomes then some of the problems that you have with other devices go away. It's problems that you have with the iPad or, for example, remote desktop. If you remote desktop into a server, there is a very nice remote desktop app that does all sorts of help to sort of simulate the mouse. But if you're trying to reboot a server or something that's pretty critical, you've got the touch keyboard on here. You've got a proper mouse, and so it really does mean that you're not kind of in that halfway house sometimes of wishing, I really did wish I had a mouse. You've got one on here, but you don't have to use it. And I think that's where the Surface is, the hardware wins over, is because you've got that combination. I mean, this touch cover is thinner than the combination of the Surface and my touch cover is thinner than my iPad and my cheap cover that I bought off eBay. The weight is slightly heavier, and it's slightly longer. But apart from that, I mean, its form factor is brilliant, and I really like the kickstand on it. I think that was a really good idea to include that. That was a definite gets around the limitations of that you would have with this. So in terms of hardware, I think it's really good. To give you an idea on the battery, I've used it for most of the day today, and from about 8 o'clock this morning till about 4 o'clock, it was on about just 50% of the charge. So it was charged up this morning, and that was leaving it on all day, using it, which is pretty good for a Windows device. So maybe the iPad would have I know the iPad would probably have more charge. The Nexus 7 certainly wouldn't, but for a Windows device, that is something that's pretty new.
Yeah, very impressive.
Yeah. And then the touchscreen and everything else, you can't fault it. There's nothing. It's really good. The touchscreen works really well. It's very responsive. Go through the start screen. Everything's really ultra smooth on there. Now, like you said, Jason, I heard about the performance issues, but I did do the Office upgrade straight away, and I've noticed no issues. And I've not done a lot of work with Word on it, but I did a couple of blog posts with it and had no issues on that. Firing up, one thing I did hear that people say is the apps were a bit sluggish. So, firing up Internet Explorer, it just opens. So it's as fast as an iPad switching apps. And but you've got the full desktop version of IE10 on there as well. So, that's really great. But where it does, where I do like it. The split personality is a bonus on this. So where on a laptop it feels a bit like you've got this extra, or a desktop maybe you've got this extra element of the UI. With this, you've got that extra bit to go back to if you need to. So, for example, I was in the office and I wanted to I wanted to check an IP address or something in the office, and I could just load up the command prompt, like Gary said. You can right-click in the bottom corner and fire up a command prompt, and you can ping things. And that's just something that you can't do from an iPad. Maybe you can find an app or something like that. But, it's nice to be able to just open up ping. And you can open up Device Manager. And, you've got all the Windows stuff as well there. So the combination of the hardware and RT actually do go together very well. And I've been pretty impressed with the whole thing.
Yeah, the touch cover is the thing that really, really attracts me to it, because the fact that it just disappears is part, it's essentially is the cover, because I think, as I said before, the risk of a convertible device is you just end up rather with the keyboard completely always detached because it's out of reach, or kind of leave it attached because you find that you use it too much. So that was definitely the thing that really sells it for me, that when you are in the desktop you can just flip the cover back round and start typing, or use the mouse pointer if you need to be a bit more accurate. And I think that's the big selling point for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly good for anybody like us that are remote desktoping and doing Windows things as well.
Yeah, and I know I've read that some of the apps, some of the non kind of Microsoft apps can be a bit slow and sluggish to start up, but I think at the end of the day, negatives, I guess, are is that it's still Windows, despite the fact it's running on ARM, and therefore it's only got 2 gig of RAM. So, as much as they've done to optimize the Metro or the Microsoft Design Language environment, whatever you want to call it, there's always going to be that compromise. But then I think tablets are, generally speaking, a compromise, and also I think over time it's a bit like games on the Xbox. They just continue to get better and better, and I'm sure developers will find ways to really get that performance out as they optimize their code and learn what works and what doesn't.
I think also one of the things which has been the case is with RT, there's been no hardware to test against. So with everything, all forms of development, until you actually try it on the real thing, you never know how it's going to perform. And you can then start tweaking things pretty quickly to get it right. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some updates coming out on some of these apps fairly quickly to speed up the performance.
Yeah. I found that the mail app's a bit sluggish, and I've seen a few people criticising the mail app, but it works okay.
The one thing I really dislike on the mail app is how it groups messages together.
It can be confusing. That I did think that.
Well, you can. I mean, if you look at the way iPhone groups messages together, then if you get a conversation, it tends to be a conversation. Whereas on the mail app, you can get anything with the same title and can go. So if you've got everybody sending messages titled "Hi," they all go in one group, which is very confusing.
Yeah, I did find that a bit confusing. For example, we sent our email out, what time we started tonight, type thing. And I think I used the same subject as it probably last week and the week before and the week before that, and it kind of did group them all together, and it got a bit confusing to see who was replying to which one.
Yeah.
But because on the desktop, I never use any particular apps. I just use Gmail in the browser, so I can use Gmail in the browser, and it works perfectly fine as well. So you've got the best of both worlds, effectively.
Yeah.
There are some things that are missing. I'll tell you, a couple of other things that are good as well is you've got a USB port on there. So one of the things that do quite often is you take some pictures on your phone and then you put them in a blog post and you do a blog post. And if you're doing a post from an iPad, which is fiddly at the best of times, it's actually quite fiddly, even more fiddly. Get it off your phone, get it hosted somewhere, get it into the blog post. It's very difficult. Of course, with the Surface, you plug your USB cable into your phone. It sees it as a camera, and I can just copy it onto the thing and include it in the blog post, and away you go. So that side of it I thought was pretty good. Same with my music. I could copy music using a USB hard drive. I just copied some music off my PC onto the USB hard drive onto the Surface, and copied that over. So that is going to be useful, and that's where I can see the Surface taking over where I would maybe take my MacBook with me. If I can do blog posts on the go with it like that, then I'm only really missing audio and video editing, and then that's my complete production machine. And also, the other thing, it's got the micro SD card as well. So what I actually did was copy all the music onto the micro SD card, so I'm not using up the Surface, the full amount of the Surface. But there is a problem with that. You can't then add them to the libraries.
Yeah, so I did see someone post a workaround to that, so I must try and dig that up. But yeah,
Paul Thurrott had a workaround with that, which involved creating a C:/SD folder, and then mounting.
Yeah, effectively doing a virtual mount of the drive as a folder, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. I thought, of course you can do that, and of course that's something you can do because you can get into Disk Manager on Surface in Windows RT. So there's only a few things I'm missing really for it to be my ideal device, and maybe that's where the Intel one would be absolutely perfect, because I could put the audio editing and I could put Movie Maker or whatever. But you can see the potential. These apps are going to come. I know Dropbox is one of the things I'm missing, and that's been announced as coming soon. So these things will come. Like you said, Jess, the apps will get better. Developers will get better with it. And it's at the end of the day, I think this is the future of Windows. The App Store model is the future, and the maybe enthusiasts like us will still use the desktop apps, but over a period of time, eventually they're going to go away, and this will be everything.
Yeah. So I've just seen a tweet from Mary Jo Freley quoting the Win app update Twitter feed, saying apparently there's now 10,000 apps in the worldwide in the Windows Store. So they're certainly ramping up pretty quickly. I guess they're probably working overtime trying to get apps certified and released.
Yeah, the certification process does take a while on Win 8 because they've got so many things to check on. It's even worse than the Windows Phone one.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not anyone does actually manage to work around the limitations on Windows RT. Because I know the DVD app that you reported on isn't supported on ARM. It'd be interesting if someone does manage to get some codecs and stuff up and running that maybe adds support for that encoding type.
Oh, and there's a question I was asked on a comment was how much space is left on the drive. So this one now, I've installed Evernote and quite a lot of apps on there actually now. So this is showing 12.9 gig free of the 24.9 available. Show that on there, you can see that. And I've copied a lot of music over, and that's sort of on my SD card. So I think Windows, when I first got it, I think it was about 18, 19, something like that, without any apps installed. And then so that's going down as I've been installing the apps. So quite a bit used actually, because I thought that maybe the Windows would be embedded somewhere, but it doesn't appear to be. It seems to be on the drive on here. So when you go through Explorer, you can see the file system, the Windows folders and everything else. So it's Windows. At the end of the day, it's Windows. I don't know quite what I expected. I expected it to be more iPad-like, but it's just Windows, just that you can't install Intel apps on it. Yeah,
that's it, and that's always going to be the piece of the puzzle that makes Service RT not right for everyone. But it's I was really interested in getting it, so that's what I did.
Well, hopefully you won't be left waiting too long. Hopefully I won't, and hopefully I won't get another one, or at least I get one of the chargers back. I'm tempted to get type cover just for to sort of use at home. Really, if I was going to do a blog post and whatever, then I'm tempted to get the type cover thought. So, but I'm not buying anything until I see my billing situation sorted out. Okay, so that was the Surface. Some other things before we move on. We haven't got a lot of time.
Quick update. I've got an email from Microsoft.
Oh, I'll let you read that.
From an escalation support engineer. Do you want me to read it, the whole thing?
If you want.
It's quite short. It's quite short. Unfortunately, you can't spell apologise. Never mind. Just apologise for the inconvenience of your experience with your service order through our online store. We are currently working to ensure that every customer gets their new service delivered as soon as possible. I have opened a new case specifically for me, and we'll provide you with updates as we work towards getting this issue resolved. Please let me know if you have any questions. Aha.
Well, very good. Well, that's better. At least you've got something back. I've had nothing about my ability.
So is that from,
that's from somebody with a Microsoft.com address, but they're the escalation support engineer in the Signature team.
Yes, the Signature team are the sort of people who are taking care of this from Microsoft point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. I did tweet this morning. I'll definitely rant and rave when I'm upset, but I also have always my viewpoint that mistakes happen, things do go wrong. What makes the mark of a company is how they deal with those things when they do go wrong. But I do feel that even Microsoft, even though they're trying to put things right for me and for others, I still think they've been too slow to respond. But we shall see what the outcome is.
Oh, at least you've got a bit of communication. That's but more than anybody else's has.
Yes. Progress.
Yeah, and no one else does anything. Well, hopefully, you never know. Next week we could be talking about Surface. You never know.
You never know.
Yeah. And I was going to say as well, I got the Skype app installed, and that's pretty good, actually. That looks quite nice. So, I'm quite impressed with the apps that are in there in the store are pretty good, and I'm sure that more and more will be added over time. So it's just a question of watching that ecosystem grow, and I think it will. Unlike Windows Phone, which kind of stalled, I think this will keep going now because there's a lot of momentum behind it. Well, I think they said today in the build keynote that the Dixon's Group reported 20% increase of PC sales over the weekend because of Windows 8 launch.
Yeah, I have to say, looking locally, the John Lewis were getting a lot of interest in Windows 8 from people playing with it on screen. They actually had a huge touchscreen actually outside the store, which I thought was quite impressive, running Windows 8, and you could just go up and play with it, which was rather nicely done on the display window. So that was quite clever bit of marketing, I thought. And people did seem generally keen to try it. So
yeah, I know we've had these sort of philosophical discussions about Windows 8 since we first seen it, but I've got to say, the more I use it, the more I think Microsoft has done the right thing, and the people that are saying, "Oh, it's ridiculous, it's Windows 8 and it's rubbish," and everything, they're missing the point. This is the future of Windows, and if they didn't do that, they'd be irrelevant in a few years' time.
Yeah, I must admit, because one of the things I was quite sceptical about was the whole start menu interface on the HTPC. Now, maybe it's because I've got a little mini mouse keyboard which I can use, because I think if I was trying to use it on a remote, I'd find it very frustrating. But I found myself using Metro apps far more than anything else on the HTPC. There's quite good little TV apps actually for streaming in UK TV in the things. So I've actually had yesterday. I had the BBC News running, so watching the stuff going on in New York and watching the Twitter feed at the same time, which is rather nice.
Oh, that sounds good. I mean, I tried Netflix. It works brilliantly on the Touch Smart. Works brilliantly on the Surface, actually, got to say.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, one of the things I'm quite disappointed with is the fact that in many ways, Windows 8 could have been the best HTPC operating system ever, and in many ways it's the worst because it just does not work with. There's no consistency in control. I know Neil Gunsberg mentioned this many moons ago that there wasn't any standards for use of keyboards in the Windows 8 store, and you really notice it. Certain apps work with back buttons, certain apps work with left and right buttons, certain apps don't work. You have to scroll them with the mouse. It's a lot of inconsistency there, and if there'd been some consistency there as a user interface, it would have been much nicer. But as we've had that philosophical debate as well about Microsoft obviously not emphasising it as that sort of interface. What I'm waiting for is Connect for Windows 8 because that would really solve my problems.
Yeah, I mean, touching on what you were just saying, Gary, I know there's this whole one of the things they made a change to on the start screen. For people using it with the mouse, is if you move the mouse to the right edge of the screen, it makes the start screen scroll across. And I know the Metro Twit guys have made a big thing about that. They've managed to incorporate that into their app, and I think they've open sourced the code that allows them to do that. But so many apps that you try and use that functionality with on a non-touch device, and it just isn't there. It has to be implemented by each developer.
Yeah, I think that there is a definite lack of consistency on the mouse and keyboard interface. Which is a shame. I mean, that could have been done relatively easy because most of the templates people are using are standard. Most of the keys, so if they built those into the templates, it would have made life a lot easier for all of us developers.
Yeah,
maybe these are things that will come over time.
Yeah, there'll probably be a consensus as things that work best will as like you said, over time will kick in.
I mean, I do wonder, when we will see Windows 9, or even will there be a Windows 9? Will it just be Windows from now on that just evolves over time?
Yeah, it could be, and RT remains the sort of our version, and just it again evolves over time.
I mean, I guess my biggest concern of getting the Surface RT isn't so much that is it the device for me, or can I live with the limitations compared to an Intel-based tablet. It's more that it's such a big investment in a device that you can't upgrade. Traditionally I've always built my own PCs and my own servers and whatnot, and a PC will last me a good 6-7 years because I'll swap out the processor, or I'll stick some more RAM in it, or put a better graphics card in it. But because these appliance type devices, you are spending a lot of money, and the iPad's a good example. It's outdated in 6 months, and do you care, and do you mind, or do you feel like you even though it's something that you might not use, you feel kind of cheated?
I did see somebody say that I forget what the exact said, but there's a new app for your iPad, so you can get in line for your new iPad. I think people always do feel a little bit cheating. 6 months I think is very short. But I certainly one thing to sort of summary up, and we've seen the Nexus tablet, the Nexus 10, which I think looked pretty. I don't know if we're going to even have time to talk about it tonight, but certainly from a hardware, it looked pretty horrible. I don't know, maybe I just need to see it up in person, but it looked pretty ugly. But there's certainly, I was watching Homeland the other night, which is sponsored by Lumia. And the first advert was for a Kindle Fire. The second advert was for iPad, and the third advert was for Surface. So I think we are in the era of the tablets, definitely.
Yeah, I do really feel like computing is changing, and that's why Microsoft are doing what they're doing. I think they really were on the brink of becoming an also-ran if they hadn't have done.
I agree.
Something drastic.
But
which is kind of it's just amazing to think a company like Microsoft can tumble in. Let's face it, 4 years or so since the iPad and iPhone really took off.
And I have to say that doesn't amaze me because I lived through the IBM tumble. When one stage IBM was every computer in the world was IBM almost, and then it wasn't.
Yeah, it's true that they had to do something. This was a massive bet, and it's not for everybody. But so far, I think they've done a good job. It's early days yet. There are things, problems with it, but I think they've done a good job with it, and I think that it's great to be excited by a Microsoft product again, which is something we've not had for quite a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
That's why I wanted the launch to go so smoothly.
Yeah.
Because I think they needed it to.
But I mean, so much so that I've enjoyed using the Surface and the UI so much that I've seen the Windows 8 launch. I think the Windows Phone 8 launch, and thinking, one of them might just work for me. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Back.
Hello.
Major Skype
So
crash.
it's because I asked about Windows Phone 8. That's what it was.
Yeah. So, Surface has crashed. No, it's not. It's fine. Just we lost call again. Who's back? Who's gone?
I'm back.
You're back. Gary's gone. Gary's back.
Come in, Gary.
Okay, so while we get Gary back, just want to wrap up. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
You're still here. Gary's calling me back on the Surface, so I can hear that. That's the Surface. Don't know what's going on, but while I get Gary back, just what do you think of the Windows Phone 8? Looks pretty good, actually. I was quite impressed with that.
Yes, I was very impressed. I must admit, I wasn't really expecting very much, because I was already pretty much happy with what was coming anyway with the Windows 8 core and getting off the CE platform, because I feel that's what's really held back the big apps from coming, particularly on the games front. And so I was pleased with the Windows 8 move with the background Skype and the background GPS, and so there was loads of stuff in there already that I was really excited about. But yeah, I thought they had some good surprises, and I think they managed to announce some stuff that hadn't leaked. I'm not really sure it was worthy of all this secrecy and delayed SDK, but no, I'm really interested.
Yeah, I actually. Yeah, I'm pretty tempted. It's just the high prices, I think, that puts me off, because I would have to get an unlock one because I've already got contract with work. So you see the Nexus 4 at 290 or whatever it is, and then you see the Lumia at 420. It's too much. It's too much to buy. It's just too much to stomach. If it was sort of 200 and something, then it would be sort of an easier decision. But I haven't got a great deal of use out of my HD7, but I just think the combination with this and Windows 8, and I think everything was put together really well.
I'm back. By the way.
Yeah.
Oh, you're back.
Hi, Gary. I mean, as I was saying, I don't know if I was saying, but I feel like Microsoft on this ecosystem that they're launching with the Xbox Music service, and I know others have got this ecosystem already with Apple and with Android, but I think much that secret ingredient is the Xbox. What we're thinking with playlists stored in the cloud, and when they get their music match service, I just think they are on the verge of something great. It's just one are too late, can Windows Phone really start to gain some traction? And hopefully, I think they announced, what was it, 46 of the top 50 coming to Windows Phone. So, all the ingredients are there. It's just, can they really put them all together and really, execute this thing?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's two shames I thought from the announcement. One is that they didn't announce anything because everything had leaked, which is a shame for them because I think they were trying to have some stuff which wasn't leaked. And the other thing is they've been holding off till this end build to let the developers actually have any look at the Windows Phone 8 because it had things in which they were going to announce which had already leaked. So there's a lot of developers out there who are busy waiting to actually work on Windows Phone 8 and are only really actually being able to do so from now, which, considering the devices are going to be out in the next couple of days, is a bit short term.
Yeah, they announced it. I think they released it today, didn't they? And it's a bit. Well, the phones will start getting in people's hands, I guess, next week, or is it over the weekend? I think they're going to be around.
Yeah. I think it's a real shame that when Microsoft trusts developers less than Apple does. I never thought I'd say that.
Yes, because at the end of the day, this stuff just kind of leaks out anyway. But
yeah,
well, in some ways, I do feel like it's a little bit less important. I still think they did the wrong thing, but I think it's slightly less important with already a good app marketplace of 120,000 apps that will run on Windows Phone 8. But
True
I think
enough.
I think this. What would be disappointing though is that these devices, they launch on Friday in the UK, I think it is, 2nd of November. That these devices will launch with that many apps that are capable of taking advantage of the new hardware and the new features. And I know there will be, there clearly will be some key partners that have their apps updated, like Skype, etc. But it's a shame that the little people, great Twitter clients like Meadow and Rowie, that they haven't got an opportunity to get ahead and have to share on tweets or something like that.
Yeah. I think that's to me is a real shame, and it's something Microsoft have never done in the past, other than with Windows Mobile. So it's something to do with the phone ecosystem that they do it on. But
yeah, and I think sorry, go on, Gary.
I was going to just say, so it is a shame because even I know of Windows Phone 7 developers who have had things back saying that their Windows 7 app needs tweaking before it can go onto Windows Phone 8, even though it's supposed to be a directly compatible ecosphere. So there may be some apps which don't work at day one.
Yeah, I also worry that these exclusives are going to hurt the product as well, because I tweeted today that the Nokia Lumia 920 on the new Everything Everywhere service, even at their top end plan, which I think is £56 a month, you're still paying £20 for the phone. And I saw Mr. Seafield, on Twitter, the Meadow developer, he was saying that phones for you are going to have unlocked ones for about £480, I think it was. So, £56 a month, you pretty soon paid for that handset. And I know, obviously, it's 4G, they've got to pay for their data costs and whatnot, but I just think that's going to hurt the brand, that there isn't, a tier where you get the phone for free at that kind of rate.
The EE pricing, so it just seems to be crazy money for. I think, what was it, £36 a month for 500 meg of LTE data? It'll get me last about 12 seconds.
The thing that they didn't want EE to get a head start has happened. That they've got a head start. There's no competition, so at the moment they're free to kind of charge what they want.
Yeah, but I certainly, if I was going to get a Windows Phone, I'd have to get it unlocked, and when you consider the Lumia is dearer than the Surface, almost, it doesn't seem quite. Something's not quite right there.
It does.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always said about smartphones. They're just so ridiculously expensive, but. Hey, I've got money to spend that I didn't think I was going to have.
No, you'll get your Surface. I'm confident in it.
The problem is, though, there is still a big part of me that worries that I would get more use out of a phone than I will out of a tablet.
Yes, possibly. You'll have to do a lot of reviews of it. I don't know. You'll have to do a lot of articles on it and to try and justify it that way.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
As that's what I'm going to be going to do now. I've done my hardware review. I'm going to do the RT review yet, and I'm pretty pleased with RT. So it's about 80% there for me to replace my MacBook and my iPad. So that's not far. That's a pretty good solution. I know what's going to happen now, though. If I was going out this week, I'd end up taking my MacBook, my iPad, my Surface, and my Nexus, and my phone as well, and maybe my Windows Phone as well. So I ended up accumulating rather than simplifying. But that's my next challenge. A nice situation to be in, though. So I like the gadgets. Right, well, I think that's everything I've got time for. There was a lot of other stuff like new version of TuneIn Free MCE, but to link for that in the show notes. My Trailers, which is Media Center app, been ported over to Windows 8. Gary, have you got anything else you want to add?
Well, I was just going to say, do you want to read that email out before the book guy gets really upset with you?
Oh, yeah, that's a very good idea. Because I nearly forgot it again.
So he's too busy playing with his Surface. He's just leave it alone, Ian.
Yeah. Okay, so it came from Thomas Horn, and he said, there's been a lot of talk about the death of Media Center, and it's very clear that MS have dumped it. I thought it might be interesting to find out your thoughts about Metro apps making the transition to become a replacement for Media Center. For instance, the viability of an app for live TV, guide data recorded TV, remote control support. Do the current music and photo apps, Windows 8 apps work nicely, 10-foot UI ready, and fully supported for streaming like YouTube and Netflix, and a way for developers to make money, and is a way to launch third-party apps from a shortcut like Media Center. It seems to me if there was a way of incorporating remote control into the Metro start screen coupled with Media Center apps, it would be a great Media Center front end, as the apps are full supported without dodgy third-party get-arounds. So actually, quite a lot of relevant stuff from Thomas there that you've been already saying, Gary, that really you've got a lot of the Media Center stuff ported over effectively to Windows 8.
You have, and a lot of apps are coming out. People like Cyberlink are definitely pushing out a lot of apps and things out. So there's a lot of good stuff there. It's just really just this fact that you can't use a remote control with it, which make it. I'm not finding that an issue because I have got this tiny little keyboard which I'm using currently to mess around on the screen and work it out with. But it really does need that sort of pointer interface to be able to work with it. Maybe we'll find more of that. As I said, if we had a Kinect for Windows 8, that would definitely solve the problem for me because gesture control of it would be fabulous. But in terms of actually using it, I do find myself spending I've had it on now for 3 days, and I started off most of the time spending it in Media Center working that sphere. But I've actually got far more to using the Metro apps, and I quite often find myself with Media Center the desktop docked in one corner. With Media Center running on it, obviously not full screen because as soon as you full screen it takes over everything. You can't do your sort of half docking, third docking. But and then running with the Metro apps on the other side, and having the Twitter client is quite interesting.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a possibility. We just need you'll never replace the proper hardware tuner guide data system. That'll never be ported over, I would imagine, not by Microsoft anyway. Maybe third parties would do it, but for the moment, while you've got the Media Center, you've got that halfway house. But maybe with their Media Portal, if they wrote a Windows 8 client to a Media Portal server, maybe that's something that you could then bring everything together.
Yeah, I think we might get into this licensing thing we talked about last week with the way that they've worked around it with that DVB Link client. May work for them in that way. It's what they call the out of the box rule. Any app you sell on the Windows Store has to work out of the box,
right?
Without anything else installed.
Yeah. And the DVB Link client works pretty well, so it just needs a bit of refinement, and that would be a good solution. So. Media Portal and others, and we could be getting there.
Yeah, I think so. I don't disagree with you at all. I think, as I said, it is potentially the best HTPC operating system ever, as long as we can get somewhere working out the control side of it.
Yeah. I think you're right there. I use a little keyboard, so I like you, so I'm not noticed it. In fact, I am actually tempted. I may even think of upgrading my Media Center machine, my proper machine, not the touch my main one. Maybe. Maybe. Right, well, I'm glad you reminded me about that. That's a very good email. Thanks for that, Thomas. And you can send those in to ian@thedigital-lifestyle.com. And if you've got any questions about any of the stuff we're doing, let us know. You can follow me on Twitter @ISDixon. Gary, where do we find you?
I'm at Gary WMA, and that's Gary with 2 R's.
And Jace, where do we find you? Apart from getting upset about Microsoft.
yeah. If you don't mind reading my rants, I'm at Database Chase.
Excellent. Well, I hope we can get your Surface issues resolved. At least between us, we've got both. We've got the full story covered.
I told you I should have camped at your house and just cosh the delivery driver over the head.
Yeah, that would be the better way of getting hold of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Steal someone else's.
Exactly. Right. Well, thanks to everybody in the chat room. Good chat room tonight. Just a couple of comments on there. Question out. Yeah, TV catch up. Gary, did you say there's a TV catch up app? Could you send me the link for that? I'll give that a try.
Yep. Yeah. There's a. It's just got a strange name actually. It's not. It's something like Film On. That's it. It doesn't sound like TV at all, but it seems to have quite. It's not really catch up. It's live TV, but it has all the UK channels and a few more besides. So quite
excellent. Good. I'll give that a try, and hopefully next week we'll have another Surface to the collection. You never know. I'll probably have 2 and build 5.
Yeah, you never know. And I'll be on the phone to my carrier as well, so if I can get hold of a Nokia 920.
Oh yeah, that'd be good. Don't tempt me with that. Don't start me on that. I've got enough now. Okay, guys. Well, thanks a lot. It was great to see you, and we'll see you next Tuesday, hopefully.
Okay, take care.
Yeah. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, good.